Let's get into it. Hey, how y'all doing? And welcome back to the Real J Good Show. This is episode 2, and it's entitled Self Care. One of the reasons why I chose this is as the second episode is because in order for you to care about anybody else, you gotta make sure yourself is right too. You gotta make sure you had that self care. You gotta take care of yourself first. But anyway, I hope everybody's taking care of themselves. I hope everybody's maintaining their peace and keeping their faith and all that stuff. And I hope everybody is blessed right now because, like I say, life is too short not to be happy and not to be blessed. Because, like I say, God put us on this planet to not only to serve Him but to be happy too. Anyway, self care can mean many things. It can mean like physically. It can mean like you can care for yourself physically, as far as like make sure you eat right and maintain your diet, or either work out or whatever. Or either it could be a mental thing like meditating, keeping a journal, just setting boundaries. It could be anything. But one of the first things I'm gonna be talking about when it comes to self care is having peace and maintaining it. You have peace in life, it can be a wonderful thing. And the reason why I say that is because when your mind is at peace, it means your heart's at peace too. And everything around you seems like so peaceful and everything. And you don't want anyone or anything disturbing it. Trust me, I've been through it as personal experience. I mean, peace. I mean, a lot of people find solace in anything that in practically anything that they do. Whether it's just playing video games, playing sports, doing puzzles. I mean, doing just doing hobbies. I mean, you find peace there. I mean, it just is. I mean, you find peace and all that. And I'm always I decided a long time ago, as me personally, is no matter what, I'm going to maintain my peace at all times by any means necessary. Whether I got to get rid of somebody in my life, or either whether I got to cut somebody off, or no matter what. I mean, you always got to maintain your peace, and I live by that. Sometimes it might hurt to cut somebody off. It could be like a failed relationship, a friend, or just an associate. If they bring you all kind of negativity in your life, I mean, you pretty much, I mean, to keep your sanity, because the last thing you want to lose, that you want to lose is your sanity, especially when it comes to hanging on to people that are not no good, or either don't have your best interests at heart. And how it ties into self care is that in order for you to have self care physically, you got to maintain it mentally too. I think it starts up here first. I mean, you got to have peace in order to maintain your self care, in order to have self care for yourself, and also have respect for yourself. Don't let anybody disrespect you. I mean, it's just like what Denzel Washington said. I mean, sometimes the best response is no response. Don't entertain the negative response. I mean, like I said, me personally, I always had a habit of maintaining, I mean, I'm not maintaining, of reacting to somebody disrespecting me. But as I've gotten older, I'm learning that it's not good to react to everything, because you don't want the person that's disrespecting you to have the upper hand. So it's best to not to give a response back or whatever. In order to maintain the peace, sometimes you gotta bite your tongue and just move on. You ain't gotta deal with them. You can forgive them all day long. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we gotta forgive each other, but at the same time, you ain't gotta fool with them either. The point blank. I mean, you ain't gotta fool with them at all. But like I say, bottom line is, always keep your inner peace at all times. I'm just saying. I mean, because you don't want anything or anyone disturbing your peace, especially when you're happy and everything, and then you always have a smile on your face. But some people hide a lot with a smile on their face. You might be hurting on the inside. I'm just saying. But if you're hurting on the inside, always remember self care. In other words, self preservation. And if you're in a relationship that you're not happy in, sometimes it might be best to leave that person alone altogether, cut off all contact. I mean, it might be hard at first, but after a while, you'll get used to it. It started to be like a psychological thing, and then years down the road, uh, you um, you wondering like, why was I even bothered with this person? Why was I even tripping over this person? Why? I mean, for real, especially as I know they weren't any good for me. I'm just saying. I mean, sometimes, like I say, sometimes cutting off a person it may hurt. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I say I've been there before, long time ago, years ago. I've been there myself. I'm just saying, man. I mean, it's not an easy task to cut off somebody that you either you have so much love for, or you may have been in love with, or either just a friend, a really close friend, especially if they ain't no good, because the last thing you want to lose is your sanity. That ties into self care too. Another thing I'm gonna be talking about is keeping a journal, documenting stuff. I mean, you can keep. I mean, like say you keep a journal. I mean, it helps you maintain your peace too. And sometimes when you don't respond to negativity, like when somebody disrespects you or whatever, you can keep that journal and write down stuff. I mean, some people got different ways to get things out. Rather it's just writing books like I do, or or just keeping a journal, or I mean, or just walking around or just talking to yourself sometimes. Sometimes I mean, it's not you're not crazy if you talk to yourself. Don't get it twisted because I like I say I do it all the time. The people that actually know me, I do it all the time and all that. They ask me, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, I ain't talking. I'm just talking to myself. I'm just thinking. It's called thinking out loud, so to speak. Especially if you ain't got nobody. Especially you don't have anybody to listen to you. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Sometimes the best conversation you can have is with yourself, and I'm not ashamed to admit it either. I mean, you can call me crazy all you want to. You call another person crazy for talking to themselves, but I honestly don't care. And that person that talks to themselves, they shouldn't care either. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, because in order, I mean, like I say, if it brings you peace and self care, more power to you. I mean, keeping a journal can be a good thing too. When you keep, like I said, when you keep in a journal, you document things. You document how your day go, how your day went, and everything, and and then sometimes you can predict and predict on how you want your day to go. You can write down your routine. I mean, like I say, you write down what you're gonna do that day and all that. I mean, you gotta, like I say, you gotta have self care and all that. Especially I mean, like I said, especially after a breakup during a long term relationship. When a breakup happens and all that stuff, of course you're gonna feel bad. You're gonna want to react to the breakup and all that. I mean, trust me, I've been there. But sometimes the best response is no response. Even though it might be hard, eventually you're gonna have to move on. Especially if you know this person ain't coming back in your life. I'm just saying. I mean, sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. I'm just being honest. I mean, I mean, you gotta have self care. You gotta have. I mean, you gotta have, in other words, self preservation. But the bottom line is, always maintain your peace, no matter what. Another thing I'll be talking about is when it comes to self care in a positive way, you got to change your life for the better. And I wrote a book, and that's the title of my fourth book. It's called "Change Your Life for the Better." If you ain't got that book, it's on Amazon.com, and all you gotta do is type my name, Jarrell Gooden, and all my books are on there. But anyway, when it comes to changing your life for a better, you got like I say, you gotta have self care doing that too. You not only gotta care about the people around you, you gotta care about yourself too. You gotta have some dignity. You gotta have some respect for yourself. Otherwise, if you don't have no respect for yourself, nobody else is gonna have it for you. Nobody else is gonna have it. I mean, it's like the way you dress. You gotta have some respect for yourself and all that. You just can't sit. I mean, it's just like I'm gonna use this as an example. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just gonna speak in general. It's just like you see, like sometimes women dressing like half naked, and then they half naked on either social media on Facebook and all that, and then they twerking and all that. And then they still all of a sudden they still want a guy to respect them and all that. I mean, and when they dressing half naked and all that. I mean, I never get that. But when a guy comments on it and all that, I mean, it's like we're the bad guys. But like I say, I mean, in order for you to have res- look, but let me start that over. In order for anybody to respect you, you gotta have respect for yourself first and foremost. And that's a prime example, and that ties into self care too. I mean, you gotta have respect for yourself. But back to me talking about how to change your life and all that. If your life is not going so well, it's up to you to change it. I mean, ain't no point in complaining if you're not going to change your life. Right? It could be a job where it's like where it could be like your living condition, where your lifestyle, whatever. I mean, it's up to you to change it. Sometimes, I mean, it can't. Sometimes, most time, it's not easy. It takes persistence. You gotta be dedicated to that change. And like I say, you gotta be dedicated. You gotta stay persistent. You gotta be dedicated. It's just like going to the gym and working out. In order for you to achieve your goal, you gotta be, like I said, you gotta be dedicated and everything. I mean, you gotta be dedicated. It takes preparation. It takes consistency and all that. Success doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. I mean, that's just the bottom line. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I wish that they invented the pill that it would, but that's not a reality right there. But when it comes to self care, make sure you're healthy up here first and have a healthy heart. And all things will fall into place. When it comes to self care, you gotta set boundaries. In other words, you're not gonna let anybody get in the way. You're not gonna let anybody disrespect you. You're not gonna let anything go. You're not gonna let anything happen that you don't want to happen to you and all that. Uh, it's just like for an example, when you when somebody calls you or you call them and then they don't respond or whatever. Don't get me wrong, it's all right to call people, but sometimes they don't feel like talking. But at the same time, that phone works both ways too. Oh, I mean, like I say, it is what it is. I mean, it's like if you're in a talking, it's like for an example, if you're in a talking stage of a relationship of a potential relationship, if you before the relationship actually happens, if you're in a talking stage and then the person either taking forever to respond or they too busy, um, they're pretty much not interested in you. I'm just gonna put it out there. They're not really interested in you, whether they're a man or woman. That they either taking forever to respond or using excuses that I've been busy and all that. I don't have time. I don't really have time. They got excuses and all, and they have excuses and everything. And I mean, just they got excuses for days, especially if they're the ones that initiate where y'all either go on a date at, where y'all go on a date, or make suggestions on where y'all should go on a date. And then when the time comes, they over like, well, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and all that. I mean, man, I understand if something comes up because life happens. But the bottom line is, if it's like a recurring thing and all that, I mean, like I say, you should just let that person go. Whether it's a relationship, friendship, or it could be like a friend or whatever. They stay flanking on you, and yeah. I mean, have some dignity about yourself. I'm sure as hell I am. Yeah. I mean, because like I say, life is too short to not have self respect or dignity about yourself. I mean, have some pride about yourself. Have some self worth. Know your worth. Know your value and all that. I mean, for real. You don't need no. I mean, like I say, you don't need no validation for anybody. You don't need no. What's the word? You don't need to prove anybody that you're valuable. You don't need to prove anybody. You don't need to prove nobody with how. I mean, you don't need to prove your self worth to anybody. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. Because in order for you to be happy with someone, you gotta be happy with yourself too. It's the bottom line. But like I say, when it comes to setting boundaries, you gotta say what you mean and mean what you say too. In other words, stand on business when it comes to setting boundaries. When you have self care, it go like I said. When you have self care, it goes a long way when you setting boundaries and all that. Sometimes you gotta hurt people's feelings, not in an intentional way, but just get them told like, this ain't gonna go down. You're not going to say this to me or whatever. You're going to respect me. But I mean, just get them told in a nice way. And sometimes, yeah, it's like that. But like sometimes the best response is no response. And sometimes silence is golden. And the reason why I say that is because when a person is disrespecting you, the natural reaction is to respond to it. As I gotten older, sometimes the best response is no response because you don't want to entertain, especially if they post some stuff on social media about you and you trying to defend your name. But when everybody knows you, how you are, and God knows you, the only validation I need is God's validation. Just bottom line, it's the only validation I need. I don't need anybody else's. It's point blank. I mean, I just need God's validation. Sometimes it's not best to entertain something that somebody's saying negative about you. I mean, because sometimes you got to turn that negative into positive energy. Because most people can do that. It's called motivation. I turn it into motivation. I remember a female one time told me that I would never be in a relationship because I'm too nice. I remember that. Don't get me wrong, it did make me mad. Was I wrong for posting something online that what she said? My opinion, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I don't know. I'm just saying, I really don't know because she disrespect me not once but only twice, and this happened 2 years ago. But sometimes, like I say, sometimes the best response is no response. I didn't respond to it at work, but when I got home, as I thought about it after I got home, it really did have me heated, peed off, so to speak. Because first of all, you don't know me. Second of all, you disrespected me. You're crossing my boundaries. I'm just saying. I mean, then somebody gonna say you gotta apologize. Say, well, hey, apologize for what? She disrespected me not only once but twice. I mean, it's about. I mean, I'm just saying it's about lying. I mean, I didn't apologize to her because at the time I felt like I wasn't wrong. But my point is, it's not best to respond to disrespect all the time because you ain't doing nothing but entertaining and giving them energy that they need to feed off their disrespect, to give them opportunity to justify what they did and all that stuff. You know, they be like, you know what? It's like they felt right for what they done. If you keep responding to it, it's just like years ago when when I was talking to somebody at one time years ago, when like 5-6 years ago, I was talking to somebody and her ex comes up and her ex confronted me or whatever online, and then he over telling me giving me threats and all that stuff. I really didn't respond to it. The only thing I did in my Facebook Messenger is put a thumbs up, like this. Sometimes when sometimes the best response when either when somebody's mad at you or either somebody's threatening you or somebody threatened you or whatever. Sometimes I know the best response is no response, but at the same time you can turn it into some humor too. Because you turn it into some humor, it ain't gonna do anything but make them even madder. They're gonna make them look stupid instead of like reacting to it in a negative. Instead of like you reacting to their dumb response, their saying dumb things that they may be saying to disrespect you. Sometimes you can turn that into some humor. And as I have gotten older, I've been learning how to do that for real. Sometimes you can turn it into some humor. You turn it into some humor. They ain't gonna do anything but make them even madder, even more peed off at you. All that. Don't let anybody have don't let anybody have the upper hand on you. That's all I'm saying when it comes to disrespect. And I'm not talking about getting back at them or anything, but the way to get back, like I say, one of the main ways to get back at them is not responding at all. Just the bottom line. And as I've gotten older, I'm 36 years old now. I'm about 4 years from being 40. As I gotten older, I'm not gonna sit there and respond to people that have a simple mindset that's not willing to learn anything new. They're not willing to evolve, so to speak. But when it comes, like I said, when it comes to self care, you can find solace in anything. Whether it's doing podcasts, whether it's working on your hobbies, whether it's working on your business, whether it's working on your goals. You can find solace in anything. But when you find that peace and solace and all that, because peace and solace go hand in hand. But when you find that, when you find both of them, you're not going to be easily rattled. You're not going to easily be bothered at all. And you're keeping the journal about it, it's going to be even easier. It's like a certain way you can get out with what you're saying and all that, what you want to say and everything, whether a person reads it or not. Because some people get out what they want to say in different ways. Sometimes people may come off disrespectful when it comes out, when they get it all out. But like I say, my way is a journal and everything. I mean, I don't mind keeping a journal. People might call me weird, which I don't care. I don't care what people think, because the bottom line is, at the end of the day, I'm myself. It's me. I'm by myself. I mean, and sometimes you gotta be your own best friend. And what I mean by that is, sometimes the best company is no company. It's more peaceful that way. Again, when it comes to self-care, always take care of yourself. Look, this is the end of episode 2. Final words, my final thoughts and everything. Hard times don't last forever. But keep your faith and maintain your peace at all times. See you in the next one.